Well, good morning, class. I just kind of wanted to touch base with you on the last two forums that you just recently completed, and just kind of recap what we're going to be doing for the next couple of weeks and as we're wrapping up here. Um, I'm just going to talk about the two forums, the one on influence and then the other response, reflection and response. Your forums on influence were just tremendous to read. Some touching stories there of our parents that have influenced us, our grandparents, and coaches and teachers and pastors. And we've been influenced by so many people, and it's just such a powerful thing that we don't even know when we're influencing kids. So it's really important to set a good example and to be good role models. Um, I just kind of want to touch on the last reflection and response forum. Greg, you mentioned, athletic directors having trouble, with funding and facilities and losing students to other um, schools nearby. And that's a real thing, especially now with declining enrollment. The state is in declining enrollment, and we're competing for students now. And with charter schools opening up too, it's even more of a competition to attract students with academies and magnet schools and charters and things like that. So I think it's really important to have good facilities because I believe in if you build it, they will come. Field of dreams. And if you have good facilities, parents are going to want to send their kids there. That's why they're building these beautiful high schools now. It's competition, and I think you have to build, nurture, and sustain programs. Whether build a field, build a program, you've got to nurture that program, and you got to sustain it to keep those students wanting to continue to attend and to come to your school. So I think that's a critical issue right now. So I really believe that we need good facilities, and the districts need to understand that we're in competition, and we need good facilities. Athletic facilities are important. Kara, you mentioned a solution to helicopter parents. It just reminded me of the film we just saw with Bruce Brown. Releasing the child to the game, and I heard an interesting new term for me. Anyway, you may have heard it. Um, Describing helicopter parents as lawnmower parents. They smooth and cut the grass in front of their students. I really believe that you have to prepare the child for the path, not the other way around. And then we have to talk about this to our parents in meetings and things like that because it's tough. It's tough for parents to let go. I get it. You want to take care of your kids, and high school is the first time where really you're starting to let go. And for a parent, that's difficult. And they should be their child's best advocate. But they have to also understand that they have to start letting them fail. And as Bruce said, what better place to fail than in the arena of athletics? I mean, it's great. But I think we have to talk to our parents and let them know about that we're all on the same team. We're not there to damage or hurt their kids, but to help them and, equip them with the skills to uh, ask a coach about playing time and not have the parent do it. So that was a good one. Um, Shannon, you mentioned walk-on coaches and the problems there. You mentioned a video and handbooks, and um, I think you mentioned also a solution is to meet with the AD. I think that's a critical thing because we get so many walk-on coaches that are young, that have never coached before, and we need, we just throw them out there and say, and we expect them to do a good job. We have to equip them. We have to help them. We have to resource them. And part of that resourcing is not just monetarily. It's not with money or facilities. It's with the education. And we do have a state law now that requires all public high school coaches to uh, take the coaching principles class, and it's online. It's offered by the National Federation of High School Sports. There is a cost to it. And there are other instructional videos out there that are free on the National Federation. They're good. And I think also we need to meet with these coaches. We need to mentor these coaches. Um, as a head varsity coach, I always tried to make sure that my lower level coaches, my younger coaches, knew what they were doing. I would check in with them daily. I would take a look at their practice plans and assist them in any way. Not micromanaging, but assisting them and helping them because they need help. And I think that's the best way to do it. You know, Philip, you responded, you said you had no clue when you first started coaching as to how to run a practice. You don't unless you've done it before, or you're gonna mimic what was done to you. That might not have been the best way that you learned from your previous coaches. So I think it's important that we have coaching education and that veteran coaches and athletic directors mentor these young coaches and not just throw them out there. I think that's really important. Um, Ryan, you mentioned burnout in youth sports. That is such a key thing now because, as we were talking, it's year round. And I think that not only do players need rest, but coaches need rest too. And maybe we need to get away from our players for a while too. I think it's healthy to not coach them all the time. It's healthy for both sides. So I think that's a real problem now. And I don't know if we're ever going to turn that around. It seems like all we want to do is practice more and more and more. And I'm not sure if we define what our goal is. You know, we have to define what are we trying to do. And then I think we're going to start making decisions. And you can hear that crow up there. Yeah. He's chiming in too. It's a beautiful day out here. That's why I'm outside. Pedro, you mentioned synthetic turf. You know, just about every school now has synthetic turf, and it wasn't too long ago that maybe one had it, two had it. I remember when we first got it, there was a lot of controversy on the health and safety of it. Shannon, you mentioned in your response about cancer rates with goalies, and I've never heard anything about that. I mean, it came up when we were discussing it, oh gosh, about 10 years ago in our district when we were getting it, about the safety concerns and the health of the turf and contaminants. And we were assured by, of course, the manufacturers at the time and all the research that we could find that there weren't any real problems with that. So I don't know how accurate this is. I don't know if there's been enough time to do some accurate studies to determine if, if there are health concerns. I know, it's saved a lot of man hours with cutting the grass, watering the grass, renovating it, fixing the sprinklers, because that was always a problem with mud and safety. I know just from my experience that it's, as an athletic director, it's a lot easier. It is. I think it can be cost effective. It depends. I think the district has to put some money aside because that turf is only going to last maybe 10 years, in some cases less. So there has to be money set aside for maintenance of it, and you got to take care of it too. You have to sweep it. You have to brush it to keep the rubber pellets evenly distributed. So there is some cost, and you have to water it during the heat, cool it down. So, there's pros and cons to it. And I don't know if all the evidence is in yet, but it's definitely something to look at. I think it's important. And then I just want to touch on next week's presentation. There is no video. Don't worry about the video. Just do the PowerPoint. And we will review those in class on the 26th. Excuse me. You can present that on the 26th. And it doesn't have to be long. I just follow the rubric that is there. Don't make it too long, but make it thorough, and we'll cover it in class. And then I just want to remind you, the handbook is coming up. That's important. The last day is November 1st, and we will meet on the 26th, and we'll talk more about it there. If you have any questions, email me. and I will get back to you as soon as I possibly can. And in the meantime, don't stress. Have a great week, and God bless you.